So I'm going to start off with that blue lagoon, and I'm going to cover his entire shell with that color as a general base coat, just to start off with. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just kind of evenly go over everywhere. And once you have that completely covered, which I don't, I was actually going to show you guys how I did the tail, just because I wanted to end it right at that point where those spikes are, where the blue meets the green underneath. I just wanted to have that separated, so I figured I'd show you guys how I did that. Then I'm going to go over the blue with a contrast paint, Croxid Scales. I know I butchered that name, but I'm going to go over that, and I'm just going to make sure I get it in all the little tiny cracks of his shell. Kind of using it as a wash in a way, but I also did want the blue to be a lot darker in some areas, especially where there's shadows, where all of that fancy stuff is kind of on top of his shell. And just take your time doing this. You want to make sure you get it in all of the creases, all those little tiny cracks, because you want them to be a lot darker. That way you get a little bit more depth. And when that's done, you want to go back over with the blue lagoon, just to make it a little more solid, lighten up the top a little bit compared to those crease colors. I just want to make sure the top is a little lighter than those cracks. So I'm just going to go over that evenly. Don't worry, it'll look a lot more solid once it dries. Gives it a really nice teal color when it dries too. So it should look something like that. Just a darker version of the blue lagoon, I guess. I went underneath the edges too to make sure they were nice and dark. Then I'm going to take that pale bright green and blue lagoon, and I'm actually going to make a lighter color of the blue lagoon just for the bottom edges. I just want something that's kind of like blue lagoon, but I definitely want it to be much lighter. So I'm going to use those two colors, mix. Sometimes it takes a while to get the exact color that you want. Just take your time. I guess it's one of those things. It's kind of preference. So you can see that that's a much lighter blue than our original blue. Just want to make sure I have enough of it to go around. And you can see the comparison. It is much lighter than the original blue. So I'm just going to go around and do the bottom edges all the way around. Kind of stay away from the middle or the top, just because I want that to be a little bit darker. Not using a dry brush, but I definitely don't have a lot of paint on my brush. It's more like a medium amount. Just wet enough to cover the surface, but not too much that it doesn't get into those cracks. It's not a whole lot difference, but it's still a little bit lighter. You can see the difference there on the one side. Like I said, I just want to stay towards the bottom of his shell where the edges are going to eventually be a lighter color. And I'm just going to repeat this process all the way around and on his head spikes. The little spikes on top of his shell, I kind of wanted those to be a lot lighter of a color too, like the edges. definitely want to get a little bit just in the middle there along those little bumps on the top there, his little spikes sticking up. And then I'm going to actually take the pale green by itself and just go along the edge a little more bold. And don't be scared if you have too much paint. You could just wipe a little bit off just to get a little more of a medium dry brush. That way you can just blend that up a little bit better. And this is kind of the general process that I'm going to be repeating with each of the colors in order to get that blended gradient kind of texture or appearance. Like I said, his little head spikes, I wanted them to match. So do that all the way around on all the spots. Should look something like this. Spiky things sticking up, his horns in the front, all the edges basically. I didn't go all the way underneath because I did want a little bit of a darker color near, you know, where it gets a little darker. There should be a shadow there basically. You can see the nice gradient line on the back that makes it look really nice. Then I'm going to mix these two colors, which is quantum green and that pale bright green. I just want a lighter color than quantum green, so just a little bit paler than the original colors. I'm going to take a little bit of that, mix those two together. Like I said, take your time mixing. Just make sure you have enough of that color to go around. That's why I use a wet palette. I end up using colors from weeks ago just because I still have them in there. See, that's a little bit lighter than the original quantum green. Then I'm just going to go along the edges like I did. Same kind of thing. Same technique. I'm just working my way further down to the edges. That's all. Yeah, too much paint. You just wipe your brush off, blend it up a little bit until you get the right consistency. Dry brush. It's coming along. Still a little bit too much paint, but that's okay. Give that a little bit more blending. And ta-da! Perfect consistency of medium dry brush. Once you get that, it goes along a little bit quicker. Blend that nice and smooth. Looks something like that, all around the edges, just like that. Go all the way around on all of his spikes, anything sticking up, a little bit underneath, not all the way down underneath. Like I said, I still want some darker colors where there should be shadows. And we have one more thing to do, and it's the quantum green. We're going to take some of that, just pure quantum green by itself, and we're going to highlight the very tips just to really make it pop. Just like that. Like I said, same technique all the way around, and just kind of blend that up. Make sure you get the little edges on the bottom. Perfect. And do that all the way around, and then you're pretty much done. That's it. You get all of his little pointy spikes highlighted, and you are good to go to paint the rest. Let me know if you guys want part 2. I will continue painting him. Plus, I had a lot of fun doing this, so let me know what you guys want to see next.